Then the main event, which once you saw what the first match was, I think everyone knew what was going to go on last. And it's Dr. Britt Baker and Ruby Soho for the AEW Women's Championship. They did not resurrect any AWA titles. Jamie Hayter and Rebel were out with Baker, and Baker goes to the floor early on. They're checking on her, and Soho comes off with a high cross, taking out Rebel and Hayter, but Baker gets out of the way and hits Ruby with a swinging neck breaker onto the floor. JR says, this certainly isn't Fabulous Moolah and Donna Christianello. And they mention Ruby's double shoulder surgery that she had over the past few years. Baker rolls for the lockjaw, can't apply it, and then eventually Rebel puts the glove on her hand, and Baker just gives a middle finger to the camera. She misses with the stomp, and Soho twists on the knee of Baker, lands a senton. Baker comes back with a super kick, and then Baker climbs the turnbuckle. She's teasing the Pittsburgh Sunrise, but Soho battles her on the turnbuckle, ending with Baker hitting an air raid crash, which played into the shoulders as she landed on them, and we get a near fall for Baker. Ruby is then driven onto the steps between the legs of Baker, and Baker just hit the nastiest looking stomp that Ruby just took like a shotgun going off as she goes into the mat, and another huge near fall. Baker starts arguing with Aubrey Edwards, and all of a sudden, Ruby gets up and hits her kick, the No Future, then hits one to Rebel.
Yeah, I think it's probably a Sex Pistols reference. My assumption.
She takes out Rebel with one, and then Jamie Hayter is on the other side of the ring and snaps Ruby's neck on the top rope. Baker has recovered, and this allows her to apply lockjaw, and Ruby taps at 12 minutes and 35 seconds.
A very good match. And a very worthy main event on this stacked edition of Dynamite. Immense pressure for these two, especially, I mean, both of them really equally, but I feel like for Ruby Soho, especially, like, only having one, I mean, this is her first big match in Dynamite, and to main event, at least on TV, this incredibly massive show. I thought she and Britt Baker put on a really stellar performance. I thought Ruby looked great. Already she comes across as one of the more seasoned performers on this women's roster. It was really refreshing to me to see the crowd give a heel reaction to Britt Baker in a match, because that is all due to how much they love Ruby Soho. You have a babyface finally in this match that people like enough to want to see dethrone Britt Baker. And while like the current chase for her towards the title is probably ending, I think the crowd loves her so much that I'm almost positive there's going to be a title reign for her in the future. But Britt is still really hot right now, and I think the person to dethrone her at the moment is still Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, I thought they had a really nice match. I thought, in particular, once they got to like the closing minutes, I think that's when they really hit their stride, and the audience was very receptive to the near falls. And I like to see the fact that they position them here. I think that's part of your star creation is perception. And some of these big shows, putting your women's championship on last, like that over time, it establishes this is a main event championship. I mean, we just saw, the women's tag titles on Raw switch in a 2.5-minute match in the middle of the show. And I think that just over time, that same perception can work on the negative. And I like the idea of the way they structured this match-wise on top of it.